Good morning, buenos dias, dobrano, and bonjour. I'm Atavia Dor, and I owe you. I owe you because I'm grateful to be standing here. I'm not going to go through a litany of what clubs I'm in or what I've done during my years at QS High. I'm not going to tell you about my experiences through the years. Instead, I want to use this time to talk about you. More important, I want to tell you how QS High can help you know yourself. Conch Pride. I know, it's been beaten into your heads and drilled into your ears, but stay with me. I know it seems like a tagline in a TikTok, but it's real. And more importantly, it's for you. Key West High owes you Conch Pride, and you deserve it. And all of you should be taking full advantage of it. Every one of you. The freshmen, the sophomores, the juniors, and everyone in between. This pride is for you. The kids that have the best parties, and the kids that don't get the invite. This pride is for you. The kids that will go on to be forever friends, and the kids that will drift apart. This pride is for you. The kids that show up every day, whether they want to or not, that fight battles at home and in their personal lives that even their best friends don't know. This pride is for you. Those that smile bravely and cry inwardly, this pride is for you. Those that dance to the beat of their own drum, this pride that I feel today for you is for you. Look at me. I'm literally not what our standard homecoming court attendant is supposed to look like. That's how I know that if you take it, this pride, this Conch Pride is for you too. I'm not perfect, but in the words of our queen and exalted ruler, Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter, I am flawless, and each and every one of you are too. It's not weird or wrong that I'm here today. It's solely because you all saw past supposed to be and saw who I am. You saw Atavia Dor, and that means a lot. So I humbly thank you. I'm not here looking to win your vote over what I have to say. Believe me. But how often does someone get the opportunity to address the entire student body and remind you that you matter? Your voice matters, and this pride is for you. I'm simply here to encourage you to take a piece of it for yourselves. You deserve this experience called high school. While everyone's experience doesn't have to be the same, just make sure you don't leave here without having memorable ones. Don't be afraid to disengage with the familiar. Step away from what you know or what society says someone like you should like. Don't waste the 4 quick years we have here wondering, what if? And not taking chances to step out of the boxes that we tend to put ourselves in. Already, many of our classmates are not here with us for many different reasons. Don't leave out those doors with regrets. Listen, whoever you choose to be your homecoming queen is absolutely the right choice. You cannot go wrong. I want you to leave this auditorium knowing one thing. You are all deserving of Conch Pride and sharing in the full high school experience.
Thanks for tuning in to the Conchs, a Bring Joy podcast. I'm your host, Joy Nulisch. I'm a first-generation Conch raised by a fourth. What does that add up to? A whole lot of Conch Pride. And that's what this show is all about, celebrating the incredible people of Key West and their stories from every corner of our Conch community. So sit back and relax, cuz. Let's do this thing. This episode is sponsored by Ramona's, promoting Conch Pride since 1971. How we doing, Conch fans? I got a good one for you today. We're talking with Atavia Dor, a true Conch with deep roots on the island who's doing big things in the community. Welcome to the show, Atavia.
Thank you for having me, Joy. This feels like a long time coming. I'm ready.
You know what Mel Fisher say, today's the day?
Today is the day.
We've had some conflicts trying to schedule this for the last month, really, but here we are, finally hit record, and definitely feel like we should celebrate not only that we're meeting together today, but also to celebrate Helping Hands across the Florida Keys, the new nonprofit that you started. And let's start right there. Tell me about the program and what's the mission.
Absolutely. So, Helping Hands of the Florida Keys came about during COVID, and my dear friend Roma reached out to me, and she was like, "Hey, I know a lot of families," because at the time she was working with the local physician who was very immersed in the COVID pandemic. She said to me, there's a lot of families going through it right now, Tavy. What can we do? She knew my family connections and stuff. We should do a toy drive. And that's where it started. And that was 2020, I believe, 2019, 2020. And so we set up a table at the park downtown, and we were collecting toys. Well, the toy collection turned into be more so people reaching out looking for help. More than drop offs, we received inquiries for more help. And we were like, whoa, 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 this is, we were just trying to, help a few families. And the need was there. It was so great during the pandemic years. So we reached out to my dad. He was out there as well. And Dorian from the city of Key West, he lives right around the corner, right in front of the park. So he came out and he was like, well, let me call the fire chief and the chief of police and see if they have any extra toys or if there's anything that they can do to help coordinate. And they did. And they really came through. And the first year, I want to say, with private donors went crazy. And I can't, if I talk about it too much, I'll start to cry because I'm an emotional gangster, Joy. But, they really came through. And I want to say the first year we helped 5 or 6 families, which was really good. And with Metropolitan Community Church, they donated food. So we had turkeys. The Elks gave turkeys and canned goods, and we were able to distribute these to local families. And one thing I'll point out to people who have a certain picture of the families in need in mind, get that picture of who is in need out of your mind, because these are working class families that were suffering. So then the next year, of course, we start to transition out of the COVID era and the COVID period, and the need is still there. The next year, 2021, more families reach out, and it's still working class conchs, people that you see in working at the grocery store, working in your doctor's offices, working at your local hospital, working at the aqueduct or the city electric. These are working families that are still in need. And so at your local hospitality and hotels, big industry,
Yes.
So to live in Key West is one thing, but to be able to thrive and to go above or to be able to provide outside of basic needs for working families can be a whole different situation. So as we continue to 2021, again, private donors, we don't have a 401c3 registry. We're just 2 little elves. Well, not so little, but 2 elves, trying to help as much as we can. And then, so from there, it really snowballed, and it became Christmas after Christmas and more families. And I think one of the most humbling things about it for me, Joy, and I think for Roma, I can speak for Roma as well when I say this, is that if you knew who the families were outside of who we are, it's humbling to know that they trust us to help them with complete confidence. Because it takes a lot for people to ask for help, believe it or not, especially in Key West, where you have so many different extremes, but we all always meet in the middle. It's kind of hard for working class families who people may have this vision of what they should be able to provide for their families to ask for help. So the fact that these families come to us in confidence, and confidentiality, and know that we're willing to help with an open heart is really humbling. It became Halloween costumes. Hey, do you know anybody that has an extra Halloween costume? It became one year, the year my daughter was on the homecoming court, my youngest daughter was on the homecoming court. A young lady had waited to the last minute. She couldn't find a homecoming dress. Her parents weren't in a place to, overnight an extra $100 to have a
Sure.
dress sent here, right? Because everything that comes across that bridge is exorbitant. So I was in a good place that year. I didn't have a choice with little Deetra anyway, and I still have dresses in here from homecoming, but that's a whole nother situation.
And I have that on my list of things to talk about is Key West homecoming.
Oh my
and
God.
the tradition and the long list of ladies
Yes.
that she's now part of. But
Yes.
but
So I said, come over. And Dee Dee says, Mom, I have dresses, and that I'm not going to wear. So, and she wore she was able to wear one of the dresses that Dee Dee elected not to wear. And she looked gorgeous. And I just think that the Lord does everything for a purpose, right? Like the dress didn't fit Dee Dee the way it was supposed to, but it fit her perfectly. So I say all that to say, and sometimes Joy redirect me because I become like a dang, my attention span becomes, you have to catch me because I get like squirrel, I lose, it's easy for me to lose my focus when I start because I'm so passionate about this.
No, I
And
feel that. I feel that. You talk about you were gonna cry. You're about to make me cry, and all you're spilling is goodness. So keep
yeah,
on.
it's I've been a family in need. People look at me and they say, "Oh, your dad is so and so. Your mom did so and so." But I'm not my parents' responsibility at this ripe old age. Now, don't get me wrong. I have no problem asking them for help, and they will tell you that. But there comes a point where you do stand on your own 2 feet, and you're in a place where you're in need. Things come up. 4 kids in the city of Key West, and I'm married, and there's still, and I'll say I have a good job. My husband has a good job, but there's times where, we're scraping our teeth, and that's a fact. That's a fact. Um, it's not fancy, it's just living. And I think that that's what Helping Hands of the Florida Keys wants to do. We want to be able to see working families in the city of Key West and the Florida Keys not have to put something off because, especially, their kids. And I'm not just talking in elementary school and middle school, I'm talking high school students too. With this last one, especially, I've seen so many opportunities that I couldn't imagine if I didn't have the tribe around me that she would have missed out on, you know? And what if somebody doesn't have that tribe or does have it, but still just needs that extra push? What opportunities can they miss? The extra set of cleats for baseball, the extra baseball bag, some, $50 cash in their hand for the 500 trips that they take with the sports team every year. And I know the coaches and the staff at Key West High School, God bless them, amazing. They graduated 4 doors. We're like the Weasley family of Key West, another door, but they've Monroe County School Department has seen their last door prayerfully, and so, but I know they work hard to make sure that the needs are met, but there's always people that don't ask for help because they are ashamed, and we want to remove that stigma. I think with our, one of the big things that we want to do is remove that stigma with Helping Hands and trust that we're doing it in confidence. And we'll talk, Roma and Eric and I will talk amongst ourselves, but it's not going to go past there. Even with our donors, and our donors have been such blessings. They don't ask who, they don't ask what, they don't ask why. You tell them that there's someone in need and they're willing to fill that void. And they trust us to know that we're not just out here being frivolous, which is another
So
trust. Mm-hmm.
no, absolutely. And so, what took it from being this grassroots movement where you met at the park and you shared like a typical Key West story, right? You're out there at the park, and then Dorian, who works at the city, lives across the street, and he's got the fire chief's number, so he calls him. And that village that happens, that Key West is so well known for, it gives me the chills. But what happens that makes you decide to go ahead and make it official and register, and the growth over the last couple of years to where you are recently with the big announcement online?
Because we've seen the checks that a lot of nonprofits have been receiving, and we've seen the need that is being unmet. So if we can get some of that money and funnel it towards that definitive need that we see, that we get phone calls for outside of being a nonprofit and that we fill outside of being a nonprofit, imagine what we can do if we can get that money and funnel it back into our Key West community, into our homes, into our families. Imagine the children, the young people that don't have to miss out on opportunities. Imagine the moms that don't have to work an extra 10 hours this week to and miss out on their child's school play because they have to, pay their electric bill that's higher in the summertime, and their kid has the opportunity to go to Dry Tortugas camp. Imagine being able to take that and meet that need that seems to be missed a lot, a lot. So yeah, that was like after doing it, okay, 2020, 21, 22, 20, and Roma's like, you know what? Gosh, and Roma, I can't, again, squirrel, but I can't talk enough about Roma. She's a dog. And I don't mean that in the negative way. I mean, she is a dog. When she sinks her teeth in, she is going to do it until it gets done. She is phenomenal.
And it takes that, because there are many nonprofits on this beautiful island, lots of people doing big things, but it's not easy to do. You've
It's
got to
not,
go out there and you've got to grind, and you've got to be able to ask for money and keep coming back and take no for an answer.
yeah,
And you need those people. You need the workers to help you, collect. And then you need those that can go. And I believe she was on the radio recently.
was, yes,
And
yes,
you mentioned Erica also. Is there
yes.
other people involved? Is there three of
So
you?
it's primarily the three of us, me, Erica, and Roma. And Erica does the background. She's really like our third person. She's our checks to our balances, and she's our reel it in guys type person.
So, what are some of the gaps that you feel? You mentioned money. You mentioned dresses. So, what do you take in? What are the gaps that you're seeing? And is there anything that you can't do, or what do you focus on offering families?
At Christmas time, right now, our main focus is as it started out with our grassroots, like you pointed out, has been Christmas time. And one of the biggest gaps at Christmas time that we see is our teens. Teenagers in the Keys, they laugh. There it goes again. I said this interview is not going to make me cry the whole time. Last year, we had a 16-year-old reach out to us via Facebook. She sent a list for her siblings and didn't ask for anything for herself. So we came out of pocket, but we reached out to our donors, and some of them came through as well. And we were able to help that family of three, including the teenager, with gift cards, and let her pick up because, they're very funny about what they wear. Trust me, I know. But we were able to provide for the 16-year-old who was asking for her siblings as
That's
well.
powerful.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned Christmas. We're here in November. The holiday season is upon us. Hopefully those holidays inspire a generous spirit in us. So if there's someone out there that's listening that has the opportunity to donate, how do they get in touch, and how do they reach you to make a donation?
They can reach us through our website, which is helpinghandsofthefloridakeys.com. They can go on our Facebook page, Helping Hands of the Florida Keys. They can go to our email, which our email is Atavia's, ATAV as in Victor, IAS, Helping Hands with an S at gmail.com.
And I'll put those on the screen too. I'll get them from you and make sure that we have them on the screen so that people can see. So there's several ways that people can reach out and help. So
Absolutely.
no
And if you
no
just know me around town, just stop me. And now we're registered. So now you can get your slip back saying you donated to this nonprofit, and you can file that with your taxes as well too. And the fact that in
perfect.
the past years, Joy, people have been willing to do it without that has, yeah, just fueled us.
And perfect timing for you guys to go official, not only with the holiday season, but tax season coming up, right? The end of
Yeah.
2025. So those generous donors have, one more deduction off that tax return. Go ahead and reach out and make something happen. One of the strongest things someone can do is ask for help, But as you said, so hard to do, and we really need to change that narrative. It sounds like that's one of the missions of your program.
Absolutely.
If there is a family out there that needs help, that's listening to this, do they use those same connections to reach out?
Absolutely. Absolutely. By all means, please do. Like I said, we do a little quick questionnaire. It's just a basic questionnaire because we have to report
Of
back
course.
to the government, and so it's very simple. Where's the need? How can we help? And if we can, and because we're just starting off, I know that there may be a lot of big needs. We don't want to turn anyone away, but right now we don't have much, so every little bit helps.
You don't have much yet,
Yet, yet
right?
we're
But
on
from our
the
mouth to God's ears and all
way.
our conch friends out there, right?
All in between. Amen.
Let's fill it up. And just as the holidays offer such a generous and loving spirit, it's a great time for celebration. It also brings a lot of stress to families who are, like you said, working families, two income families that have some gaps. And I think about Thanksgiving coming up a couple of weeks away and being able to put a meal on the table,
Yeah.
and then thinking, 3 weeks later, needing to wrap a gift for our kids. No,
Yes.
no child and no family in Key West should go without. We
Without
can't, we
we
might be able to not reach all the way across the country,
right.
right? But let's take care of Key West and the Keys. And there's so many opportunities to help. And this Helping Hands of the Florida Keys is official, on the books, ready to make it happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Joy, for letting us get that out there. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do it. And that's the other thing too. Not everyone has an opportunity to give, but we
Hmm.
can spread the word.
Yes.
And
Spread the word and help. Listen, we take help too because Roma's fiance Brett and my husband Dor, they sick of being asked to put bicycles together, 2 and 3 the night before Christmas, and helping to set this up and lift these boxes. We take help in all forms. So if you have an extra set of hands, again, that's the mission, helping hands, where you know put your strengths together and work together.
love that. I've done about 3 episodes now on this new show called The Conks. And without any intention, one of the common threads is community service.
Absolutely.
Talk about Conch Pride. Michelle Cohen was on the show a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things that her and Ralph Major did a great job, the rest of the board over there at Junior Football League, was community outreach. And they started engaging the baseball team and the basketball team, and not only students, but adults in the community as well, to come out and give of their time. Because once you do it once and you see what a uplifting feeling you get when you serve someone else, it becomes contagious. And those young people that start to help out at an early age, like you mentioned, your daughter giving a dress to her friend, right? That's something that it gets inside of you. I would encourage anybody out there listening, if you haven't extended yourself for someone else yet, it's time.
It is. It is the time. Absolutely.
I also mentioned in the intro that you had deep roots on this island, many of which are community leaders, right? Your family is full of community leaders, from the church to the classroom to
Yes.
city hall. So let's shift gears and talk about your Conch family, if we may.
Yes. Absolutely. Both my mother and my father. I don't have a choice but to be the way that I am. Really, I'm blessed to have two of the most selfless parents that I can even imagine, and I've watched them work selflessly, both of them, without any want or desire for any recognition. You know what I mean? And it's the little things that I've witnessed both of them do that that they'll never speak of. And one woman that I know well, my grandma Rose, was very much like
She's
that.
all,
She was that woman. She never looked for anything back. My grandma went to her grave, God bless her, knowing so much that she never spoke of, so much that she never, that she carried, and she did it gladly. She received a lot of, and gave of herself, but without, it was very humbling to, I use that word a lot, but it was that's how I was raised, with that humility to do selflessly. Grandma Rose is the one that taught me, when you pray, you go into the closet and pray. You take that between you and God. You don't do it for the world to see what you're doing. Just like your good works, that's between you and that person and God. That let your works be through you, not through everything. You don't taking a picture as you're handing somebody a sandwich. So that's how I was really raised. And yeah, I don't have a choice but to be the way that I that I am.
Actually had this question on here to ask you. Did you learn simply by example, which is how you're answering the question now, or did at some point they sit you down and say, "Look, this is what this family does," you know?
A
But
both,
as both.
a little bit of both. I was always raised, again, both sides of my family, that I'm a reflection of my family. And that's one thing I've tried to instill in my kids, that when you walk out this door, my husband, he has a good, I love the way he says this. He tells my kids that he's loaning them his last name. That's my last name. I'm loaning it to you. So when you take it past these doors, you treat it with respect, you know so I love that. But yeah, you carry on your bloodline years of respect and selfless giving and self-worth. Yeah, so did they sit me down and tell me? Yeah, there was times where they have to reel me in. There's times today where they still have to reel me in a little bit. All right, Tavy, you may be doing a little bit more now. But no, they it was talked about in the family, like you saw them like in church. What can we do? What are we doing? And then there was the private moments that maybe you weren't supposed to see, but you got a glimpse of or an ear of, and you saw them always working. So yeah, it's very much a part of who I am.
You talk about a name and a legacy. Recently, Key West opened the lofts at Bahama Village,
Yes.
and your father, Clayton Lopez, was an integral part of bringing that to fruition. How cool is that to be able to see that project come to pass? Because something like that takes years and years. There's also another housing complex, Roosevelt Sands, that's your family. Talk about a name and a legacy when your family's name is on buildings. That's a legacy and a responsibility, right?
It's a
No
huge.
pressure, but
No pressure. In fact, I'm gonna clip this part of this interview and send it to my kids, because I always tell them that there is a legacy within your family that you have to respect. No pressure, no weight, but yeah, a lot of pressure and a lot of weight to do, to continue. I don't. My dad and my great grandfather, Roosevelt Sands Sr., and my uncle Junior, Roosevelt Sands Jr., always used to talk about being a man amongst giants. And that's where I feel like I am. I'm a woman amongst giants, trying to live up to this legacy that they've left for me in my own way, in my own way. So, but yeah,
I think they're proud.
I hope so. I hope so.
That's good stuff. And besides a family of givers and leaders, very talented family,
Not stopped here. It's stopped here. I sing. I play nothing. I have no voice. I
All
can
right,
sing, but
because
don't.
your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin Kofi Butler,
Oh yeah.
you
Oh,
can't sing.
I cannot hold a note in a brown paper bag. In fact, when they get together, they have me sing this one song, and it used to just tickle my grandma Rose to death. So they make me sing it as a joke, and I will not burden the watchers of this interview with doing that.
They don't even let you play the tambourine, cuz
No,
you just take pictures for them.
I stand and I dance. I'm the dancer. I'm the backup dancer.
Somebody's got to be hyping the crowd.
Somebody's got to be the hype man. That's me. That's me.
Man. So, this is also one of the first shows that I've done where sports isn't the centerpiece of the conversation. But that doesn't mean we're not going to talk about it because, I'm a big baseball fan. That's my passion. Roosevelt Sands, I want to say that must be your great grand uncle, okay, grandfather, was one of the greatest players in Key West baseball history. He
Hmm.
was a catcher with Key West Coconuts and other baseball teams that played on this island in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Played against each other, the Cubans, the military, whoever came to play baseball. He was a huge. I should be letting you talk, but I get wound up when
No,
I'm
by
learning.
all means, by all means, Joy.
He
Yeah,
was the story as I know it is that he was asked to go with the Negro Leagues and travel the country, but he decided to stay home and start his family. Is that a true story? And is there any other stories you could share?
that's very much a true story from what has been told to me and what I've heard. Is that he stayed here and grew his roots in the community and elected to marry his lovely wife, my great grandma Mina. Um, I've been very blessed, Joy. I've had the privilege of knowing one, two, three, four of my great grandparents, and actually to the point having conversations and talking to them. And I remember my after my grandma Mina passed away, Pop Roosevelt Sand Sr. would always his house was right around the corner on Amelia Street from my grandmother's house, Grandma Rose's house on Whitehead Street. So every day she would cook dinner and she would have him come over. He would bring his own little bird peppers that he picked off the tree to accompany his dinner because he said they helped you live longer and they kept out, and it did. He was well into his 90s.
We should all have a bird pepper tree then, huh?
Are the secret. And he used to sit in the den area after he ate his dinner, and Grandma would get his dessert, and he would watch baseball. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a huge baseball fan. I'm a football fan. My oldest son played conch football. He was
Yes.
phenomenal, but um, he used to. We would hear him and he would say, "Great googly muggly." That's when you knew it was a really good play going on. He would holler, "Great googly muggly, did you see what that man just did?" So yeah, and my little brother Robbie, he had the privilege of knowing Pop and Uncle Junior, and he used to call him the man with the booming voice. He Pop wasn't a big man. He wasn't big in stature, but he filled every room he walked into.
So speaking of powerful and voices, Mr. Roosevelt Sands, that many of conks my age and older know from Key West High School, was the greatest speaker I ever heard. Talk about an orator. I believe that you have that talent.
That's not. I don't. Oh, Joy! Wow, that's a lot.
It's time to
Oh,
bring that out.
oh.
I've heard you speak eloquently on more than one occasion, and I know you're a strong voice for those in need. But I always believe that's coming to you if it hasn't already. You feel that?
I just felt that for real right now. I've been blessed to have spoken to my church family at MCC. I love being there. Started with Steve Torrance asking me and inviting me to speak multiple times as a guest speaker, and then now more recently Miss Joan Higgs has asked me to speak. And when I get the opportunity to speak, it's a different process. And I don't know if it's the right way. I don't know what the right way or the wrong way is. But I always just try to connect with my journey and where I'm at. you know? And that's something that I think I learned from those great orators that you spoke of, Pop and my Uncle Junior, and even being considered anywhere near my Uncle Junior, that's a lot. That's a lot. Because if anyone ever heard him do I Have a Dream, and recently someone sent us a video, and I thought I saved it on my phone, but I got a new phone. But it was my Uncle Junior at Zion Church and my grandmother accompanying him on the piano as he did I Have a Dream. And I believe it's on YouTube. If anybody ever finds it, it is worth the repeat.
I would love to find that. I wish I could show it and add it to this um, episode somehow, because we're talking about him, and like I could feel him coming from the back of the room. Everybody sitting down facing this way, and he come from the back of the room, the auditorium at Key West High or the church, and
No,
look at
Mike.
that church. And yeah, just talk about raise the room and
Yeah.
everybody's spirit to another level. That was a blessing for those of us that had the opportunity to hear him speak. And I was actually tuned in recently at MCC Church, and you were speaking, and I was tuned in to the live, and that came into my mind. That's the next generation up there speaking. So no pressure, cuz, but I just mean it with love. At least to share that I had that moment where I thought about him and you when you were delivering your words. So
Well, taking me out of the conversation, I actually thought about my Uncle Junior when my youngest daughter, gave her homecoming speech. That I sat there because she didn't want to read it for me the night before. She didn't want me to hear her. She literally cried when I said, Deetra, please read it for me. Let me hear it. And she was like, no, 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 I don't want you to. So sitting there, that when she gave her speech that day, that I think that was a Thursday. And I boohoo cried. I wasn't ready. And my mind went to my Uncle Junior. And I mean, again, removing me from the conversation, I thought I saw my dad, I saw my Uncle Junior, I saw my grandmother, my mother's mother, who graduated from Douglas High School valedictorian, and she would quote, I mean, up into 90, 92, she was still quoting and remembering poems. And
at last came one of the merry troop, the gayest laddie of all the group. He stood beside her and whispered low, I'll help you across if you wish to go. Her fair hand on his strong young arm she placed, and so, without hurt or harm, he guided her trembling feet along, proud that his own were firm and strong. Then back again to his friends he went, his young heart happy and well content. She's somebody's mother, boys, you know. For all, she's old, poor, and slow. And her own, and somebody's mother, bowed low her head in her home that night. And the prayer she said was, God, be kind to that noble boy who is somebody's son with pride and joy. That's it.
Amen.
and when I heard that in my daughter, I said, holy moly. I said, wow.
she
You
did
know?
it. She's it.
She did it. And my youngest daughter, now my boys are different, but that's a story for another day. But my oldest daughter, she gave the keynote address when she graduated with her associate from what's now College of the Florida Keys. And that had me in tears too. She spoke of growing up in Haiti and the opportunities. So moving. I don't know. Anyway, I'm blessed. And it just made me feel like, hey, maybe I was able to pass something on to them. To them. Maybe they did pay attention a
Yeah,
little.
just like you paying attention, right? Now this next generation, and that was one of the things I had on here to talk about. We mentioned already your daughter being part of the homecoming queen tradition. QSI recently celebrated 75 years of the homecoming celebration and invited all 75 years of homecoming queens, whoever could, to come back What is it for you to see your daughter on a long list of great Key West women, and to know that she's already making her place, and your kids here, you've got four, raising four up. What are some of the traditions that you hope that they'll take from you, and keep going and pass on to other generations?
Pray every night that my kids know I'm here to support them to be that much better than me. Had some wonderful, my parents have been amazing, and I stand on their shoulders. They stood on their parents' shoulders, and now I gladly, have my kids stand on me and my husband's shoulders. I have four kids. I have four high school diplomas. All four diplomas are honors diplomas. I have my youngest son, Mr. TJ. He is on the spectrum, but he's in college. He's going to get his regular associate's degree. He graduated with his regular high school diploma. I have my oldest son, who is taking his time, but he promised me he's going to get that degree. You know, my oldest daughter, when we talk about homecoming, I have to, my girls, I say they're different, but I brag a little bit on my oldest daughter because she was the first Haitian born conquette at Key West High School. She was also one of the first Haitian borns, if I got this correctly, to be nominated for the top 20. She didn't make it to court, but she was nominated for to the top 20. Then, along comes her little sister. And I tell Chris all the time, you opened the doors, we can't take anything from you. You stood in the paint so that she can, do what she did.
As big sisters often have to do, right?
Often do,
No,
and
I have two big sisters that, clear the path for me. Absolutely.
yeah, 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 all the time. She called, they were on the phone with me last night, and she tells Deetra, I raised you. And I said, all right, Crystal, you pushing it, but you definitely, you opened some doors, but yeah, no, you pushing it a little bit now.
Man,
Yeah,
that's really good.
but Dee Dee comes from a long, long, homecoming tradition. Her grandmother was on the homecoming court. We've had my mom was on the homecoming court. My cousin Linda, my cousin Paulette Rivas, her cousin Jaquilla was a queen. Geez, who else? Our cousin Pam Reming was the first Black homecoming
Yes.
queen at Key West High School. So, it's been and I never really thought of it that way, honestly. Going into it, I was like, okay, she probably won't get the nomination. And she was like, Mom, I got it. And then I'm sitting there on the field, on the bench, and I remember looking at her and thinking, now, how am I going to break it to her that it's okay she didn't win? And
There's
then
always that, right?
it's always that, right? Just in case. And then they called her name. And I think I went into absolute shock, like literal shock. Miss Yvette Talbot came over to me and she was like, Are you okay? And I'm like, I couldn't speak. I remember not being able to speak. And there's this amazing video of my husband jumping up and punching the air 4 times in a row,
Because
when
he's out there on the field having escorted her in.
ear to ear like the Cheshire cat, And and I just remember thinking it's a little bit different from her because Dee Dee wasn't your stereotypical queen. She wasn't the size 6. She wasn't the one that was, the class president or the president of this or that. She was always the supporter, she was always there supporting and rallying. And so I just felt like it was a little different for her, but I can go on forever about that. But I won't.
Hey, yeah, no, I love it, and cheers to her for putting the supporting cast in the spotlight. You've already talked about Miss Rose, and I held the tears back, but I'm gonna I'm gonna talk about her too, because and I love her, but
Mhm.
just anybody out there that's watching, anybody that went to Glen Archer School, knows Miss Rose Lopez from the computer lab way back in the day. This is who we speak, in case you were wondering. I was early in my career, in the late '80s, started working for the school district, And Miss Rose was already had many years working in the computer lab and managing that lab. And she helped me so many times. It turned out that Mr. Donnie Williams, he retired unexpectedly, and I was just like, what am I supposed to do? I was just supposed to be a teacher aide, right? And how many times did I call your grandmother and say, hey, can I come over and sit in the lab and spend a couple hours and just watch you? And I had a bunch of questions about the computers and the reports and everything else. And Miss Rose always reminded me, we're not here for the computers, we're here for the kids.
Wow.
If you worry too much about the computers, you're gonna miss what we're doing. It's for the kids. And I promise you, cuz I never forgot that. I retired with 35 years and I always held that close to me. And talk about somebody being named appropriately. Miss Rose was just beautiful, with a smile that when she smiled, her eyes would twinkle. You could hear that little ding, right? It was just her whole face smile. And I miss her hugs, man. I could use one right now. And the thing about her hug, man, was that when she hugged you, I don't know why this is happening, but I'm going with it
Go. Yep.
maybe because I need a hug today. But when she hugged you, long after she let go, she was still holding you. You know what I mean? When you get a good one, it's something special. And obviously, it's been a real long time since I got one of those hugs, but I remember them fondly. And yeah, I love her. I love your daddy. I'm proud of what he did for Key West. And you and I haven't had as many opportunities to connect, but I see you. And I'm so happy that I've been able to get you on the podcast and shine a little light. And now we connected.
Amen.
Now we got each other's number, and we got our own thread that we've made today. Not just Key West sisters, but through your family, and now we have our own connection.
My text coming to you at all hours of the night, because once you open the door, I come right in. Once you
Go
open
ahead
the
then.
door, I'm in. You can't put me out.
You heard it here first. I'm fully committed. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this episode with two big questions. Complete this sentence. I'm proud to be a conch because
It's tradition, it's loyalty, and it's dedication to community above self.
that's good stuff. And finally, what brings you joy?
Family. And family isn't just who you're birthed into, it's who you surround yourself with. You're my family, Joy. So you
Feel
bring me
it.
joy, and you brought me joy with this opportunity. So thank you.
Right back at you. Thank you so much for being on the show. Everything you do for Key West, and I'll see you out there.
You will. You will. About to hit the ground running.
Go Conchs.
Go Conks.
This episode is sponsored by Ramona's, promoting Conch Pride since 1971. I'm Joy Nulisch, and I appreciate you tuning into my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, drop a review, share, and subscribe, because there's a lot of good stuff on tap. You can find more joyful content on YouTube, the socials, or check my website at joynulisch.com. Now go surround yourself with the things that bring joy to your world. Until next time, much love.